Welcome to the Monday, November 18th, 2019 City Council meeting. Our invocation will be provided by Shirley Murdoch, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our dear Father in heaven, we're gathered together this evening in the attitude of a city council meeting. And we ask blessings upon the proceedings of this meeting and that the things of regarding the power and light and our roads, all the things that come to pass through the council, that they might ponder and choose the very best things. And we ask blessings especially upon the churches, the businesses, and the schools, and the city, that the homeless might be provided for this winter, that they might have a place to be warm and to be fed. And we ask thee, dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the privilege that citizens have to come and give input into our governmental meetings, and we bless the proceedings of this evening that they might be civil and productive. These blessings we ask in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmembers Huff.
Here.
Perkins.
Here.
Doherty.
Here.
DeLucy.
Here.
Robertson.
Here.
Van Camp.
Here.
Mayor Weir.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor.
Mayor? I get to be whole mayor? No.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I would like to move to remand bill number 19084 back to the City Planning Commission.
Second.
Any discussion on this motion?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes, Councilor.
I understand that we are trying to arrange for a community meeting between the applicant and interested neighbors. I just wondered, has that meeting been scheduled? And if it has, could we make an announcement on that?
Yes, thank you, Councilwoman, members of the council. We've been working with the developer to get that meeting scheduled after the study session we had last Tuesday night. The developer has asked for that meeting to be scheduled on December the 4th. Our city staff has been working very hard to find a suitable location to accommodate the many folks who would likely want to come to that. As of this evening, we don't have a commitment on a venue yet. We've been trying to get something that would be in close proximity to the areas. I think many of the neighbors would have a great interest in being there. So we'll continue to work hard to try to get that, but assuming that the venue would accommodate the date would be December 4th, and that evening, probably 6 p.m. would be what we'd be looking for.
And how are we to tell the neighbors and the community as to where it is and what time in particular
Right.
it is?
Once we get that locked in, we'll use all of our different mechanisms to promote that. This forum in here, social media, certainly I'm sure Mike over there would be happy to put something in his periodical. So we would get that out in as many places as we could.
Okay, I'm just concerned with the Thanksgiving holiday coming up and December 4th coming quickly. I want people to know so that they can plan to be there. And I also would like to know, is this meeting going to be far enough in advance of the Planning Commission meeting for it to make a difference?
Yeah. That's why
Those are my two issues.
I found this town's not very good at keeping secrets, so we ought to be able to get plenty of word out when we're ready. The second thing is on as far as the date, the Band Trust has asked that be set for January the 14th, 2020, for your point there, so that there'd be plenty of time to make amendments to the plan based on feedback that may come up at the neighborhood meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
You're most welcome. Clearly, this is a project that is dear to the hearts of many and needs time, just like we did with the insurance for the retirees. And we got to have a come together. And we want everyone there, and we're working towards that, believe me. So, call the roll. Oh, any other comments?
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Robertson.
Yes.
Van Camp.
Yes. Motion passes.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilman?
I would like to move to suspend the rules to allow citizens to address this council on Van Trust and other items of interest.
Second.
Pardon me? Any discussion?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilman?
Later on in this meeting, I have Resolution 18-825 that addresses this. I'm going to be a rule player here, and suspending the rules all the time is not the way to do this, but I'll go ahead with it for this time. But I feel certain that this council will pass it, so future that they can speak anytime they want.
So Grant?
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Doherty,
No.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Robertson.
Yes.
Van Camp.
Yes. Motion passes. Okay, so when you come forward, please state your name for the record, and the city clerk will keep the time. Jeff Ragsdale. Yes.
This won't take 3 minutes. My name is Jeff Ragsdale. I live on Castle Drive on the high ground above the proposed Van Trust project. Been there for 31 years. I own a steel company that began in the old ice house at 625 South Willis in 1962 and has been continuously operating in this town since 1962. I bought the steel company, and now my daughter works there. So if you drew a ring around this building, 5 miles radius, I've lived and worked in that ring my entire 62 years of life. So what I want to talk about on this is I don't believe anybody here is anti-development. I personally know the president of Van Trust and know him to be an honorable man, and known him for 40 years. So I don't doubt anybody's integrity, but I think this is the wrong project in the gateway to Little Blue. The most recent number of truck docks is 80 dock doors and 100 truck parking places. That's in the revised one. So if they turn those doors and spaces once a day, that's 2 truck movements to move it. So 180 times 2, 360 truck movements per day if we only do it once. If we do it twice, what'd I say, 180? I'm not good at public math. 360, 360, right? So I wasn't really prepared to speak. I didn't think we were going to be able to. But 180 times 2 is 360, right? Times 2, 720. So that's a lot of truck movements between Menards and this space. So I think that's my single biggest issue in opposition to this. I've written all of your letters, and I had 2 others that I'm not going to address tonight. I think the traffic is the most compelling reason to send this back to planning, and let's get this right the first time. So thank you.
John Chapman.
Hi. Thank you for letting us speak tonight. Really appreciate it.
If you'd state your name.
John Chapman, 19804.
I know I did it already, but these are the rules that they asked
I
for.
understand. John Chapman, 19804 East 24th Terrace Court South. Okay. Prairie Landing resident. We spoke once at the Planning Commission. I've done a little bit of research. Like the man just said, I think Van Trust is all about a quality developer. That's not the issue. The issue is it's wrong for the place. And I asked the council to really concentrate on that. And I want to bring up that I don't know if there's been any other research done on it, but Van Trust built a very similar project in Lawrence, Kansas. That project is a 153,000 square foot building. They proposed to get a tenant in there. They still yet have a tenant. They do not have that. Why do they want to build a complex that's 4 times that down in Little Blue that they propose that they can have tenants in there? I can tell you why. It's close to I-70. It's going to be a lot of trucks. Like he said, there's a lot of docks there. It's going to have traffic. I don't think the city has the budget to maintain the roads. And it's just a wrong project for the area. So there's a council member, District 3, that came to my door and asked for my vote. Said that he would represent the people, and I voted. And I would hope that you're going to represent.
Just a matter of rule.
Don't direct your comments directly
Okay.
to a council person, please.
Okay. I would hope that you will help the people and vote for what's right with this project. And this project is definitely wrong. They already have, and I say they, meaning the Van Trust, has already posted on their website the building situated in its place. I think that's wrong. It's not even been planned. It's not even, the plan doesn't even have a basin spillway. I mean, there's no plan. And why would you post it on there? So that's my comments. Again, I want to tell you all, thank you very much for letting us speak. Really appreciate it.
Larry Hinkle?
Back for round 18. I'm Larry Hinkle. I live at 2413 South Glenview Avenue. I'm also in Prairie Landing. A recent homeowner there would never have even considered it had I known this thing was going to get rezoned. The Chamber of Commerce seems to think this checks all the boxes and it's just a wonderful thing. It's not. He called us all NIMBYs. Not in my backyard. This is what he called us on the website. Some things you don't want in your backyard, just like the people in Lone Jack did not want a feedlot and a slaughterhouse in their backyard. We don't want this warehouse in our backyard. Put it where it's supposed to be. You already had this plan. It was going to be industrial out by Lake City. That was in the original plan. I-70 has not moved since that time. So put it where it's supposed to be, not down here by us. Thank you.
Oh, McMurray. Mike McMurray?
I'm Mike McMurray. I live at 2705 South Mohican. I've been a resident for 35 years. That whole area when we moved out there was all pasture. It should be a business park, and first of all, you said that all the information gets out pretty fast, but it didn't on this project. All these people can raise their hands and tell you that you guys did not notify all your residents around there, from Cedar Oaks to Saddle Ridge to these new areas that they just talked about. And we accidentally found out about it. But we're the ones that voted you people in. But when you wanted a vote, we heard all about your families, your aunts, your uncles, and everything else. And that's pretty poor. My second part is not one merchant. I'm representing the merchants because I went to every merchant, from Menards to the new Black Bear Diner. They said, why didn't the city council and the mayor let us know about this? No one knew about it. Hereford House. I can go on. They sent the picture to their home offices. Bed Bath & Beyond. Corner Cafe. every one of them said about the traffic. And I told them about your little study, that the traffic lady got up there and said, we'll increase the light time. We're not all stupid, that just backs up the traffic. They said, Menards said, this will kill our business. You want to build this over here, and you're putting more restaurants, and you want to build this here, but then you want to kill it by putting this truck stop over here. It's totally, you need to talk to your merchants because they are very upset. They give us their emails. They want to know about it because they're very, very displeased with this outcome. And then we have the man that talked last week, the director of finance. The first meeting, he said $15 an hour starting pay to $25. Last week, he gave him a raise because it went from $17.50 to $27. And he said great wages of $43,000 a year. Well, a family of four making $44,000, you get food stamps. Then he talked about we are below wages compared us to Green Valley, Blue Springs, and Lee Summit. Let's be real. How many residential new developments do we have that they have? They're developing homes. And those people don't work all in Green Valley, Blue Springs, and Lee Summit. So we need to look at more residents and think about our businesses that we've put in here, because someone said where Menards is, that's the entrance to Independence. And once you put that truck stop, we had a truck stop on Nolan Road. It became a prostitute house. We tore it down. Mostly what you seen in that lot was all trucks. So, since you did want our votes, and we did have a lot of information from you people that when you wanted to be elected, I think that, you really stop and think about this and what for future business. And who else is going to want to put a business right next to that?
You have 1 minute.
Okay. I just think the business park, and I think wages on a business park would be higher than in here. And it would be in my backyard. It's across Jackson. And also, those streets were not designed for this many semis at all. And, it's a total wreck to your plan for all the merchants that you want to put in on the other side. And I thank you for letting me speak, and have a good evening.
Rick Massey?
My name is Rick Massey. I live at 18809 East 25th Terrace South in the Nolan Estates subdivision. I'm an engineer, I'm a realtor, and I'm also a resident. This is my hometown. I've lived here for 64 years. I typically am all for advance in the City of Independence. That's how we grow. That's how we establish. That's how we make our mark in the community. I have to tell you, I do disagree with this proposed project. Here's some of my concerns and some of my reasons. Some of them have already been addressed. Probably the biggest one that I see is the congestion factor that's going to come into play here. The impact that it's going to have not only on residential but correct on the business is unmeasurable at this point. I do also agree that the road infrastructure is not capable of having the type of traffic with 18-wheelers that would be implemented with the establishment of this project. Another concern I have, which was brought up, is safety. Now, who's going to be responsible for telling that family that their child has died because the traffic was backed up and they couldn't get them to the hospital quick enough. Both Children's Mercy on the south side of I-70 and or Centerpoint Hospital. That's going to be a major problem. Access. Now, truck drivers typically will look for an alternate route. And I guarantee you between 291 and Hidden Valley to try to do a cutoff, 23rd and Jackson Drive, 39th and 291, 39th and Woods Chapel to backtrack to try to get access because they're not going to want to fight the congestion to get their load dropped off. Another thing is now we've got this beautiful facility for people who want to ride bicycles and walk the Little Blue Trace. You add 300 plus trucks in over a 24-hour period or more, what kind of impact are you going to incorporate with that from a safety standpoint? There's already been a number of accidents at the intersection of R.D. Mize and the expressway this past year. I don't have the stats for the exact number, but I've seen a lot of them personally because I frequent that. Another thing that I'm concerned is what real tax breaks are being given to the Van Trust. I don't know the specific details. Yes, we've had some things thrown out there, but I don't know the depth of that. That's a very concern also. You brought up the point about fueling access. All right. To my estimation, the nearest truck fueling facility is Oak Grove. All right, you'll say this project gets implemented. These guys are going to want another place to fuel. Guess what? You're going to be looking at Independence. Where are you going to be able to accommodate more traffic with a truck fueling facility to accommodate these guys that need fuel? I think, in my opinion, there's a lot better locations. I understand now we're going to do some significant updating on 24 Highway. You've got a big facility at the intersection of 24 Highway and 291, which is now a defunct Kmart lot. That's not a bad location, and there's enough square footage in there to accommodate maybe not quite this big a facility, but maybe something would address that. And here it sits vacant. So my concerns, we've got some areas and locations, in my opinion, that would be a better usage of this project. I'm not discounting the fact that we need the project. I don't disagree with that. But the location is not conducive to the function of the project that's going to come to this table.
You have 1 minute.
Thank you. I do appreciate your efforts. I know it takes a lot of work and time to put things like this together, but I hope you'll take a serious consideration of not forfeiting the project, but strongly reconsider a different location that is more conducive to safety and growth of the city. Thank you.
Bob Webb.
My name is Bob Webb. My wife Dina and I live at 2333 South Old Mill. We lived there for 10 years. I do appreciate the opportunity to speak to the council tonight. My concern for the dangerous intersection at Jackson and Castle prompted me to contact our city planning department. That's on the hill, the rise as you start down into the valley where the only entrance to the Jackson entrance to the project is located. I spoke with Brian Harker about my concerns and went to the planning department on Thursday, November 7th to view the study. I found that the intersection of Castle and Jackson was not included in the study at all. Nothing about that intersection, even though it is within a half mile of the only intersection on Jackson to that project. And that intersection of Castle and Jackson provides the only access from Prairie Landing. Traffic coming out of the Prairie Landing subdivision heading west looks to the north, and there is a blind bluff concealing any kind of view of what's coming over the hill. You literally put your life in your hands when you cross it now. Traffic heading east off of Jackson, whether it's heading south or north, faces even a worse blind corner. Driving south on Jackson, if you look toward the Castle intersection, looking south, you cannot see anyone at that intersection for any more than 50 yards at most. Now imagine a loaded truck, even going the speed limit, 30 or 40 miles an hour, topping that hill, trying to stop with a school bus in that intersection, because school buses come in and out of both of those streets every day. It's already been mentioned that the ambulances follow that route often. When we first moved into the subdivision and the road first opened, which was about 10 years ago when Jackson was finished, there was a pretty steady police presence up and down in the entrance to that intersection, watching for speeders. They were busy all the time. That speed limit is not observed. Traffic tops that hill routinely at 50 miles an hour. So I plead with you to study that intersection before you attempt to do anything to put more traffic on it. It's already been pointed out how dangerous it is. It puts too many lives at risk to do what you're considering. Thank you for considering that.
Craig Bolger?
I'm Craig Bolger. I live at 3220 South Crenshaw here in Independence. Appreciate the opportunity to speak. I've been born and raised here in Independence, basically the first house east of the Little Blue River on Artie Mize Road. I've been an Edward Jones office. I've owned that for 24 years on Artie Mize. My main concern is my family. We own 150 acres still in Jackson County in eastern Independence. We had 200 acres we sold for Saddle Ridge for nice homes. Of the 150 acres, we own a tract of land directly on the corner of Little Blue Parkway and Artie Mize. And we also have a 75-acre tract, our largest tract, there just north of Saddle Ridge. We're concerned that this type of development is, when we develop that 75-acre tract into executive homes, $1 million plus homes, I really don't feel that this development is going to be what those types of homes are going to be wanting basically in their backyard. This is about 1 mile from where this development is going to be from those homes. So with that, I just, my father was a legislator just like you all are, and did a lot for the independents, and I just don't feel that this type of development with the trucks and the type of structure is really what is good for Independence for the long term. Short term, will it make our land more valuable? Probably so, but long term, I really don't feel it's appropriate for the kind of the crown jewel, as I've heard it say, is Little Blue area. So anyway, with that, that's basically what I had to say, and I appreciate the time.
Okay, this brings us to our consent agenda. Councilmember Huff.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve the reports and recommendations of the city manager.
Second? Second.
Councilmembers Huff,
Wait a second, I'd like to pull an item.
Oh. We should have that done.
I'd like to pull 18825.
That's 18, what? Did you say 25?
18825.
Okay. Is that you? Excuse me. Does anybody have any other items they want to pull? No? Roll call?
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp.
Yes. Madam?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, 18825 is a rule change requested by Councilmember Huff, which I'm very appreciative of. It will allow people to speak even if matters were subject to consideration before the Planning Commission. My only request would be this rule as written would require people to sign up the Friday before the meeting. And I want to make it clear, because we did change the rules to where people can sign up the day of the hearing by 6 o'clock and still speak. And I just want to make sure that this new rule does allow people to speak for zoning, plus it does not require people to sign up the Friday before. That's my only request and question.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Excuse me. Yes, Councilman Huff?
I would like to have the city clerk go ahead with that and clarify that, but I'm assuring you that it goes back to the 6 o'clock on Mondays. But I'll let her
Okay.
go ahead, because she,
All this amendment does is it erases the fact that rezoning, it removes it from the exceptions list. So right now, we have a list of exceptions, and this is one of those exceptions. It removes it from the exceptions list, but doesn't change anything else about the current council rules of procedure.
So the one I have written is the old language requiring people to sign up by noon of the Friday. If I have the wrong one, I apologize. I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Yes, the only thing that's being changed is what's highlighted here and struck through. That's the only difference. This is old language. That's not in the current council rules of procedure now. That's a mistake.
Thank you.
Councilman?
I was going to amend it to strike those words out of what's on my copy as well, because it says we have to sign up.
There's no need.
Okay.
Okay.
I move approval of 918-825.
Second.
So moved. Madam City Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff?
yes.
Perkins?
Yes.
Doherty?
Yes.
DeLucy?
Yes.
Robertson?
Yes.
Van Camp?
Yes. This public hearing time? This brings us to our public hearings. First is a public hearing for the application by Cal Lawson requesting a rezoning from R6, single-family residential, to R18 PUD, moderate density residential plan unit development for property located at 2805 South Sterling Avenue. New information only?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council, my name is Tom Scannell. I'm the Community Development Director. This application held its public hearing before the City Council on September 24th and also on October 22nd, and there's no new information to report on this case.
Any? Oh, so now what? Oh, are there any comments or questions on this hearing? Anybody for or against? Is that how it works? No. Okay. Hearing none? Pardon me. Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, Councilman.
Sorry, I jumped the gun, moving too fast here. Chiefs game's at 7, sorry.
Okay, so I should go ahead with the second, and then he comes in?
Nope, we need to read the bill. Bill number 19081, an ordinance approving a rezoning from District R6, single-family residential, to District R18, PUD, medium-density residential planned unit development, and approving a preliminary development plan for the property at 2805 South Sterling Avenue, Independence, Missouri. Second and final reading.
Oh, any discussions? Councilman, did you want to?
Councilmembers Huff?
Yes.
Perkins?
Yep.
Doherty?
Yes.
DeLucy?
Yes.
Robertson?
Yes.
Van Camp?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to delay this public hearing make a motion to delay this public hearing and reading for 2 weeks till December 2nd. It's my understanding the applicant will be making withdrawal of this application.
Second.
Any questions? Comments? Madam City Clerk?
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Robertson.
Yes.
Van Camp.
Yes. Do I bang again? Okay. Where am I at in here? Our next item is the non-ordinance action, item number 1. Madam City Clerk.
Council action is requested on the application received from Family Express Mart LLC for intoxicating liquor in the original package, license, and Sunday sales for Express Mart located at 1001 West US 24 Highway. This application requires a 2/3 majority vote for approval due to residential property being located within 300 feet of the establishment.
Any comments or questions? Councilman
Mayor
Robertson.
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. You know, after looking at this application and the location where it is at the corner of 24 and River there, there's a number of other liquor stores within, let's say 500 feet, as well as within a mile of this location. So there's already a huge liquor store right across 24 Highway. And there's several others to the east and to the west of this one. My other concern with this particular application is that it's in a gas station that is on the side and within walking distance of one of our elementary schools. So it is within, no, I'd say a block, at least a block and a half of Bryant Elementary School. The third concern I have is this person that's on the organization with her name and address is the applicant that has probably well over 100 other stores that she is the licensee for. And at the end of this, it lists a number of violations that she has had over the years in the past, not just here, but also in Warrensburg and a couple other communities. So I have concerns about this. I don't know whether our liquor control officer or Mr. Scannell want to comment about that or not. But I have a concern about those violations, as well as the fact that she's on the license. I think of 4 or 5 pages of single typewritten other businesses. There's got to be maybe a couple hundred businesses on these pages. How can someone really control people that are checking driver's licenses and being on top of a licensed business when they're on the license of a couple other businesses? I don't know how you can do it.
Mr. City Manager, did you?
Well, there is no state prohibition
I know,
on that, so.
I know.
Yeah, so unfortunately, that's not something we could weigh in on as staff. It's just provided as a matter of fact for the council during your deliberations.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilman Perkins.
I do have some concerns as well, Councilmember, for sure. If you might recall back, there's been some discussion about this particular location, that there is going to be a significant amount of development that's going to take place there. I believe it's about $1.2 million, $1.5 million worth of development. They've knocked down the old car wash that is directly behind there. This is a little confusing to me. I do have some concerns about this. I had a second pre-development meeting with city staff maybe 3 months ago, 4 months ago now, trying to get past some deadlock here. This is confusing to me, and again, I will ask the council, I'll make the motion if we can delay this for 2 weeks to see if we cannot get some more answers
I'll
made.
second that.
I would like to see the development move forward, but we've got to do it in a way that's smart and safe, and I want to make sure this is correct for the community.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
This is 24 in Liberty, not River, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
No, this is the one on River.
No, this is River.
This is River.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Liver. And for the record, there's no more liquor store at 24 and River across the street. That's gone.
Okay.
So there's been a motion on the floor and seconded in this session, and any discussion we've had? Yes. Any more? Hearing none.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Robertson.
Yes.
Van Camp.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. before we move on, Mr. City Manager, can we reach out to the applicant here to see just exactly what's taking place here, and if there's any new information we need to know about this development, please?
Yes, and we'll get that into the council package prior to the meeting as well.
Thank you.
Our next item is a non-ordinance action, item number 2. Madam City Clerk?
Council action is requested to authorize city staff to perform design services, hire any necessary survey services, and develop construction plans for the Peregrine Valley Stormwater Improvements Project.
Any discussions?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, Councilman.
I understand that this is an inconvenience to the residents, but I wonder, what are we going to be delaying if we divert the money from our streets program? Are we going to be delaying something that's more important? That's my question, because we only have so much money to go around.
I'm not brave enough to weigh in on more important. I'll leave that
Okay.
up to you fine folks. What we would delay on this is the implementation of the 9th and Winter Road stormwater repairs. There at the very bottom of your agenda item, you might, in the fiscal impact section, probably not as dire as I'm making that sound. They have performed, WPC has performed slope stabilization program over there. So the problem is addressed temporarily right now, but the permanent fix would be delayed. As we saw, this one is least disruptive to the overall capital budget for stormwater projects.
And if we didn't approve this tonight, when could we fit this one in? Do you have any idea as to the timing?
That would probably, I mean, the most relevant time would be probably submittal of the budget, which obviously happens in May and isn't approved till June and takes effect July 1st. So really then by the time you do that and start moving forward with design and bid and construction and all that, then you're probably looking at about a 12-month delay till project completion. Now, I want to be clear, the things I just mentioned need to happen right now anyway, design and bid and construction and all of that, but what would lag is the time to do that right now between now and when budget would be adopted.
And then final question, it mentioned something in here about an emergency fund, that we would use the funds from the emergency fund. Does that leave us enough emergency fund for an emergency?
I'll tell you what.
Is my question.
I am going to ask Lisa Phelps from Water Pollution Control to come up and help us with that one real quick.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I'm Lisa Phelps, Director of Water Pollution Control. To answer your question, we've put, we try and put $100,000 a year into emergency construction. We did dip into that some for the 42nd culvert repair.
That's exactly what I was thinking
Yes,
about. We've depleted it already.
For this fiscal year, but we had some remaining from the prior. And so as a capital project, those funds do wrap from year to year. So we do still have money available in that project. Like I said, the only delay would be the 9th and Winter, the 9th and Winter project, which since we've done slope stabilization at that location, there's no structural flooding going on there. The slope stabilization seems to be holding, so delaying that project shouldn't be an issue.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Can I ask a question, Mayor Pro Tem, Lisa, while she's up here? So, in my recollection, this particular road has been a problem for several years. It's not a problem now that's really any different than it's been for a number of years. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the developer originally was supposed to repair this road as part of the NID, is that right?
Yes.
And we were supposed to have a second entrance. I remember discussing this, and I specifically said we've got to have a second entrance for this subdivision, and it never happened. Is that because the NID went away?
On, I believe it was March 20th of 2017, council voted to remove the road improvement requirements at that time. So when those were removed as part of that development package, then that piece went away. So there was no intention at that time to make any additional changes to the road situation at that location.
Including a second entrance?
Correct.
So is there still lots available? At the time the developer pulled out, there were some lots available and a planned second entrance. Is that still a possibility?
The, we're obviously not privy to all the developer's plans. But when they came to the council 2 years ago, you might recall, the project, because of the recession, had fallen into bankruptcy. The new developer had bought it out of bankruptcy and had asked the council to waive those requirements to help make the project cash flow. That's really all we know about it.
Did they sell those lots then?
Not certain.
Don't know.
They just haven't
Don't know.
kept us apprised of that, sorry.
I think both things need to happen. Both a second entrance needs to happen. That's what both police and fire always want. They want a second entrance to the neighborhood. It's a safety factor, you know, in case something happens like this road continues to deteriorate like it has. And I don't know why we would have put that off. That was a priority a couple years ago. It's still a priority now. My only concern is where's the money going to come from now? It's going to come from other projects. It means we'll have to put off other projects, and that's not always good.
For this
Thank you.
particular project, yes.
Yeah.
Councilman Doherty?
Okay, I want to avoid this, but now you've opened it up. So let's take a little trip down memory lane. This is in my district. This development was started by one contractor, and during the real estate meltdown, bankrupted, walked away. Part of the agreement, he was to put in 2 entrances, actually, one right off of Truman Road or something, and instead they put in a temporary road. In typical city style, it was halfway done, crappy, and poorly accepted. So the first guy leaves, and there were several lots that were left unfinished. Another contractor came in, it was Salih Homes of Lee Summit, and said, hey, I will go in and build this thing out and finish the subdivision, but I will not put in hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of infrastructure that the first guy should have done to finish out, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 lots. That was it. So it was a take it or leave it's what it was. You want to finish the lots out, this guy will come in, finish them out, project's done, but will not spend the hundreds of thousands of dollars to put the road in. So we thought, well, that's how we ended up with releasing the developer, because no other developer in right mind would have came forward and put in 2 entrances. One of them requires a bridge, by the way, to the east to finish 4 lots. So we thought we'd rather have 4 new homes, people in them, be done with it. All right. So this May, the entire subdivision called me and said, do you know there's a massive flooding problem out here at this road, and it's gotten worse every year. Well, I don't go out there in the rain, so I went out there, and sure enough, it is a huge flooding problem. As to turn the corner, it doesn't drain. So I went and contacted the staff at Public Works and the stormwater people. I said, hey, take the pictures, look at this. And what happens in the summertime, it leaves a huge amount of mud. And during this time of year, when you have snow that melts, it makes a big frozen pond. And the city will come out and take care of it, and this will repeat itself over and over. And it's a very dangerous situation. Also, this was a temporary road, barely 1 lane. Fire and ambulances find it difficult. And it's really a horrible entry to a beautiful little subdivision. So here in May, I went and talked to the staff to say, come up with something for me. It's okay. A couple weeks later, they contacted me. I said, good news, we've got several scenarios on how to fix this, including all the pricing, what it would take to do it. So I set up a meeting with them, sit down. It was the lady was just up right there, this lady and her assistant. We went through and we've seen all the ones. One of them, they said, well, the first thing we really ought to do, since the city should stop turning their back to it and neglecting it, and just flat put the road in. But that would take probably 2 or 3 cycles of saving the money back to do it. So here's several other remedies and the pricing for it. So we look at one of them. One of them it makes total sense. It's not a bad price. I said, this one right here. And they said, well, yeah, this is a great solution to drain this road. And good news, we've got the money to do it. Okay. When can this be done? Well, sometime in August. I said, I need it done quicker. And the lady said, well, I'm going on vacation. And my question was, does the city stop when you go on vacation? So the assistant director said, no problem. Well, I can put this in. Using our staff and our crews, we'll put this drainage pipe under the road, we'll drain it back over the storm sewer, problem solved. So a couple weeks later, they called and said, oh man, we've got this done, it's great, it's wonderful. So the first rain, the neighbors start calling. So we sent mail out to neighbors and said, hey, on this date, and we took the date they promised it was done, added 2 weeks to it. Mr. Mayfield over here sent a letter to the neighbors saying, we're going to tear the street up and fix this problem. Time came and went. The neighbors said, hey, they called back, this is horrible, nothing's been done. But yet the staff said it was done. So I go out there and look at it. It's halfway done. They haven't done what they promised. They've done just a halfway job on it, and it isn't fixed. I brought this guy out here, the city manager. I said, look at this mess. Here's what should have been done. He was aware of this from day one. Oh my, we got to get this going, got to get this going. So he puts it in charge to the number 2 guy, who decides you're going to go out there and pile sandbags on the curve like a giant dam. Well, that didn't make it any better, guys. That backed the water up. Well, that's another 3-week delay. We come back saying, well, really, the only thing we can do is go back to one of the 2 options, and that's what we need to do. In the meantime, I'm saying, look, guys, I'm trying to get this done before winter, so we don't have this big sheet of ice out here on this thing, and we've promised all these people we'd have this done. So then they called me a couple weeks ago and said, great news, now it's got to go to the council for council decision to plan it out. And my thought was, whatever it takes to get it fixed. Y'all have neglected this since day one. You turned your back on putting the street in. You promised me you had the money. You promised me you'd have it done. Here we are. We need to pass this and get it done, and get it done right, and start escrowing the money back to put the entrance into the subdivision and be done with it. So I would support getting this thing approved today. I don't care what it robs to get something done. We've turned our back on these people long enough. There's mud in the summer and ice in the winter, and we can't keep up on that. It's on a temporary road. So we need to get this thing fixed. There's a storm sewer on one side, which is the highest point. Where it drains to is the lower point. All they have to do is put a pipe on the street to catch it and take it to the storm sewer. That's all it would needed. Or raise the asphalt up a few inches to throw it back the other way. There were the 2 options. So there's where we're at on this. Now you know.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilman Perkins.
If I may, thank you. So 9th and Winter is obviously in the 1st district, and the location of 9th and Winter is a unique one. I don't know if anyone's really familiar where it's at, where it's located at. It's not too far from Revived Church and that kind of interesting section of roadway and connection between 24 Highway and Truman Road. The stabilization is set, it's looking good, and I have all confidence that it's going to stay that way. The impact, if we were to remove these funds and push it into a more high impact area that affects more residents in this area, I do not have a problem with that. I think that would be okay. Well, that would be okay with me, given the location where these funds are coming. Not to say that this does not need to be fixed, but if it's stabilized, I'd rather have this fund, if that's okay with the council, to be able to go into a more higher impact residential constituent place for enhancement.
So you're okay with it?
I'm okay with
Okay.
it. Is that a long about way of saying that? So.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, Madam City Clerk.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Robertson.
Yes.
Van Camp.
Yes. This takes us to our 2nd readings. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 19074, an ordinance granting Kansas City Power and Light Company, or KCP&L, Greater Missouri Operations Company, its successors, and assigns a franchise and authorization to construct, operate, and maintain all appropriate facilities for carrying on a light, heat, and power business, granting the right to use the streets, alleys, and all other public places of the city within the present or future certificated service territory of the company therefore, and prescribing the terms and conditions of such authorization, and repealing ordinance number 13577. Second and final reading.
Any discussion?
Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilman Huff.
City Manager. Does this have any effect with Lake City? I know there's a few people up here that's interested in getting that able to serve them with IPL. Does this have any impact on by okaying this?
Right, so this agreement in front of us tonight allows us to collect our payment in lieu of taxes, or PILA as we commonly refer to it, within the Kansas City Power and Light service territory. So for example, the water plant that's in Sugar Creek, for example, collecting that 9.08% pilot there. This would not have any bearing on our ability to negotiate with Lake City or any other, quite frankly, entity within that service territory, should that future opportunity arise.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none?
Councilmembers Huff?
Yes.
Perkins?
Yes.
Doherty?
Yes.
DeLucy?
Yes.
Robertson?
Yes.
Van Camp?
Yes. This takes us to our next reading.
19078, an ordinance authorizing a contract with the City of Sugar Creek, Missouri for the City of Independence, Missouri to supply water to Sugar Creek. Second and final reading.
Any discussions? Comments? Hearing none, Madam City Clerk?
Councilmembers Huff?
Yes.
Perkins?
Yes.
Doherty?
Yes.
DeLucy?
Yes.
Robertson?
Yes.
Van Camp?
Yes.
Bill number 19079, an ordinance authorizing an agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the Public Transit Operating Assistance Grant in the amount of $16,692 for operating expenses associated with transit service for the period of July 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2020, and making the necessary appropriations. Second and final reading.
Any discussion? Comments? Madam City Clerk? Hearing
Count-
none.
Councilmembers Huff?
Yes.
Perkins?
Yes.
Doherty?
Yes.
DeLucy?
Yes.
Robertson?
Yes.
Van Camp?
Yes.
Bill number 19080, an ordinance amending Chapter 4, Article 15, Rental Ready Program, inspection requirements for rental properties. Second and final reading.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam City Clerk?
Councilmembers Huff?
Yes.
Perkins?
Yes.
Doherty?
Yes.
DeLucy?
Yes.
Robertson?
Yes.
Van Camp?
Yes. This takes us to our first readings.
Bill number 19082, an ordinance amending Article 4, ambulances of Chapter 19 of the Independent City Code.
Any discussion?
Bill number 19083, an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to execute a floodplain property lease according to the terms of the attached lease. Bill number 19084.
We
Oh, no.
remanded that.
We remanded that back to staff. There's no more first readings.
All righty. This takes us to our council member comments. Knowing that the game has started, Councilman Robertson?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just wanted to make everyone aware again then that we are planning tentatively to have a public forum on the Van Trust project, but subsequent changes to it. And they are to be there and are going to be listening to some of those recommendations. So their project that they're going to be taking back to the Planning Commission in January, and I don't have the exact date of that, is not for sure what it's going to be yet. Because they're going to be listening to you, they're going to be listening to us. And that's what they made clear at the last meeting of the City Council when we had our study session last week. So they are being flexible enough that I think we have the ability to tell them what we want and what we don't want. So I encourage you to be there December 4th. And we'll try to get the word out through the city and perhaps the newspaper and the internet and so forth. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Welcome. Councilmember?
Nothing.
Councilmember Doherty?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Councilman Perkins?
Nothing tonight.
Councilman Huff?
Nothing tonight.
Well, I got a whole bunch. No, echoing the words, coming together, sitting down and listening to each other. And please, I know that what I've heard from Van Trust, they're willing to hear and to respond. Have it so on the other side also. Be ready to come prepared to talk. Thank you. We're adjourned.